Hello chess family, it's me National Master Jesse James, and today we're going over 5 very fun traps in the Cochrane Gambit. That's right, we're going to be sacrificing a piece against our opponent and get very good attacking chances, and also, well, a few traps along with it. So, let's get to it, my friends. This first one I like to call the e4 pawn trap. Basically, whenever we sacrifice our piece with the Cochrane Gambit, they cannot take the e4 pawn. So what do we get for our piece? We're going to be sacrificing a piece for 2 pawns and, well, an uncastled king, which to me gives about equal attacking chances. Here we go. We start with e4, e5, knight f3 attacks the pawn, knight f6 defends the pawn, the Petrov or the Russian defense. And here we're going to go and take on e5. This guarantees white an advantage. And here black goes ahead and plays pawn to d6. I know a lot of you already know knight takes on e4 is not the best move, as white can do a very basic trap here for queen e2. And if the knight moves back, we get knight c6 check here, attacking the king, but also the queen. And even if the queen tries to block, we're just going to take her. This is not even one of the basic traps. This is just a Petrov opening. We're going to go into the Cochrane Gambit, which is whenever d6 gets played, we go ahead and surprise him with knight takes on f7 here. And, well, if you don't take back, you're just losing. So king takes back on f7, and here we play pawn to d4. And here you see, well, why can't we just take the pawn here on e4? This is very basic, but not many people will know this. In fact, I got this not too long ago against a women's FIDE master. And, well, this person over here takes the pawn on e4. They lose their piece back, plus white is in a better position. What do you play? Here we're going to go ahead and play queen over to h5 check. And although there's many different moves here, all of them are going to be losing. In this one, we'll see black plays pawn to g6, which makes sense. Whenever you're in check, go ahead and perform CPR, capture, protect, run. Usually we're going to try and protect and attack our opponent back. So g6 gets played attacking the queen. But here's simple chess. Queen d5 check will attack the king and also attack the knight here on e4. Black will move the king somewhere. Queen takes on e4. Now white's just in a better position with +1 and still have very good attacking chances. All right, on to the next one. I call this one the queen loss, so I know you're going to like this one. Here we go. We start with e4, e5, knight f3 attacks the pawn, knight f6 attacks their pawn, and here we go. Knight takes on e5 for the main line. Pawn d6, and here we go again. Knight takes on f7, the Cochrane Gambit. Black has to take back. We play pawn to d4, and here again our opponent does not know what they're supposed to do, so they play knight takes on e4. Here again we're going to punish them. Here we go queen to h5 check, and here the king goes to e7. And here it's a little bit different. Here we see the idea of the unprotected knight. We're going to at least win this piece, but we have to do it the right way. This time we're going to play queen back to e2. And believe it or not, it's not about winning the knight right now, but we're actually trying to win the queen here. Most people here will just play the pawn move to d5 to protect the knight. And now, do you see it? Here we get to win the queen with a very nice move of bishop over to g5 here, check. And of course, with this check, the knight cannot take back due to the pin. And here we're just skewering the king for the queen. And, well, the king moves, bishop takes, and white's in an easy winning position. All right, on to the next one. I call this one pushing the pawns. Here we go. We go e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, the Petrov or Russian defense. Knight takes on e5, d6, knight takes on f7, the Cochrane Gambit. King takes on f7, bishop over to c4 check here. You can also play the idea of pawn to d4 first, but this time you play bishop c4 first. Here, black goes ahead and plays bishop e6 here, which is the most common move. But that being said, I'm not sure if it's going to be the best move here for black. Maybe something better here is something like pawn to d5, and after pawn takes, do not take back because of the pin, but here go ahead and play bishop d6, and black is actually doing quite good here because the bishop is cut off. With that being said, black went ahead and played bishop e6 here, and, well, we're going to let the pawns do the talking now. Bishop takes, king takes. We have a king in the center. How bad can that be? Castles over here. And here, g6. Of course, they're not going to take on e4 right away, as rook e1 should be able to pin and win. Or maybe you could even just play queen g4 check here too, attacking the king and the knight. So g6 gets played here. A very common idea in these ones. Black is going to go bishop g7, king f7, and rook over to e8. They call this castling by hand, since you lost the right to castle regularly. And here, we're going to use our idea. Push the pawns. Here we go. Pawn to d4, bishop to g7, pawn to c4, queen over to f8. Here white has a guaranteed advantage. In fact, at this point, white just pushes ahead. Here comes those pawns, pawn to e5. And here, well, black goes ahead and takes. Pawn takes. Maybe not take this pawn. Knight f to d7, but here we have a win with queen to d5 check. King back to e7. Do you see it? Bishop g5 check. Here, there's really no good moves. The king goes back to e8, and now we're just going to checkmate here with queen e6, and black has only one move here, queen e7 here, and you're just going to go ahead and checkmate. You can also use the traps of pushing your f pawn here too. Don't think you just use the c pawn. The f pawn one is one of the ones I like to use. In fact, I think we'll see that idea in a little bit. All right, let's go on to our next one, which is Bishop's Mayhem. Here we go. We start with e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, the Petrov defense. Knight takes on e5, d6 to kick the knight. Knight takes on f7, our Cochrane Gambit. King takes on f7, pawn to d4. Here, bishop e7 gets played, and here white plays knight c3 to defend the pawn now. Notice knight takes e4 can be a threat now, so we're going to go ahead and play knight c3 to defend it. Black will typically go rook f8. As I said before, they want to go ahead and play the king back to g8 and castle by hand. So now is the perfect time to stop him from getting to g8. If they get to g8, the game still is able to be played, but it's going to be a lot harder because the king's so safe. So what do you play here? Develop with the threat. Here we play bishop to c4 check. And here black does play the best move, which is pawn to d5. Again, do not play this bishop e6 move here. This is what white wants. Bishop takes on e6 will give an advantage. So black plays the best move. Pawn to d5 here, and here you do have to take the right way. White to move. What do you play here? All right, if you guys haven't already, go ahead and give us that like and subscribe. Remember, liking this video is going to share this with more chess players. All right, after d5, what do you play? Here we want to keep the bishop, so we're going to go ahead and play knight takes on d5 here, and now the king is just going to be marooned or trapped in the center here. Knight takes on d5, bishop takes on d5 check. Here, if bishop goes to e6, this is just going to be losing. Queen over to h5 check. King over to g8. If you tried to block with the pawn, it's not going to work out. Queen takes on h7 here, check. King running up to f6 just gets checkmated in 2 moves. Pawn to e5 check. King to f5, and a beautiful queen h3 checkmate. This is why we call it the Bishop's Mayhem. These bishops are just doing a great job in this game. So back to the main line. After queen h5 check, black's best move is just to go ahead and go back to g8 here. And now the bishops do all the talking. Bishop takes on e6 check. King to h8. You can see how h7 is a little bit weak here. Bishop f5, putting pressure on h7. Here, black's best move is really just to sacrifice the bishop. But a lot of people won't do that. They definitely don't want to lose any more material than they have. And here they either play 2 moves, g6, which hopefully you'll see bishop takes g6, just looks great. Or maybe they'll make a worse move and go ahead and play pawn to h6. White to move, what do you play here? Of course, we're going to sacrifice through it. Bishop takes on h6 here. Queen takes on d4. It doesn't really matter what they play here. Everything was just winning. And here you just have a checkmate. Here we go. Bishop over to e3 check. King to g8. Bishop over to h7 check. King h8. Bishop g6 check. King to g8. And queen h7 for check and a mate. All right, our last one is just going to be a simple one. It's just checkmate over here on the board. Basically, after they go and take on e4, we're going to go ahead and just checkmate them because their king goes through the wrong square. e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, knight takes on e5, pawn to d6, knight takes on f7. We got our Cochrane Gambit. Here we go. King takes, pawn to d4. Remember, do not take on e4. They should have learned this by now. Knight takes on e4 gets played, and now we're going to punish them. Queen to h5 check. And here they go ahead and play the terrible move of king to g8. Hopefully you know this one. White to move. What do you play here? Hopefully you found it. It's a simple checkmated one. Here the queen just goes over to, checkmate 2. Queen just goes over to d5 check. And here the idea is not to win the knight, but this time it's to checkmate this king. It's only not checkmate because they can block with the bishop. But here we go ahead and play queen takes on e6, and this is just going to give us a mate. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this. This was fun 5 traps in the Cochrane Gambit. Hopefully you guys can try this out against your Petrov opponents and get some nice attacking positions. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next video.